On est 150 dans cette tour. Ça va.
In the spirit of Halloween, I decided to check out some movies on Shudder. And if this isn't the culmination of so many creepypastas I've listened to, I don't know what is. And there's something particular about this movie that drew me to it. And it may disappoint you or please you too. The first thing I noticed about the movie is its very somber tone. You can barely make out the opening credits. It's like somebody was writing it with their sphincter or something. It's different and depressing. And in daylight, you can see the towers. These sort of high-rise apartment buildings. You can see people looking out. Sorry, I said that so badly. There's an old woman sitting at a table alone, and obviously this is her family. She's sipping on the sizzs. Yeah. And she's like, it's time to go to work. She heads down the building, and she's just following her normal routine. She goes outside, and as soon as she steps outside the building, everything goes dark. Which now, considering the whole premise of this movie, is pretty clever.
Clever girl.
Main character, who's the daughter, lives with her little brother Duma, who apparently has nightmares. She looks out there, and there's no one there. And man, do they play up the suspense in this movie, because there are points in time when you think something's gonna jump out and get you and it doesn't, but at least they don't overdo it to the point where it's annoying. So she's like, Duma, come back to bed, man. Duma's like, bitch, don't you see I'm looking at something? And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, where are the towers? She's like, what towers? And it doesn't take long for her and everybody else to figure out that they're clothed in a veil of darkness.
Darkness. Did you hear that? Darkness.
You know how cheap the set for this thing has to be? All you have to do is put a big sheet of black cardboard or something on the other side, and you're just living in one set for the entirety of the movie. They show a few couples throughout the entirety of the movie. This is the old psychic oracle man. And it's weird how when people are looking at it, it's this ominous thing, and we as the audience know it's ominous, but no one ever has the curious bone in their mind to throw something in there. You'd think that's the first thing people would do, or wave their hands around in there, because people are stupid sometimes. The sister knows they're in trouble. When she goes to what I assume is an ex-boyfriend's house, she's like, open up the windows and look what's happening. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm getting a little bit frustrated. Can you like show us what's happening? Finally, she's like, check that out, bro. And he's like, no way. Captain Hook over here is like, let me take one of the most expensive things I have. Which don't look that expensive to me, and ooh, it just disappears into thin air. That's freaky, bro. I like how when everybody tells everybody what's going on, their first thing to ask is, what is it? As if the person that's in shock showing them should know, even though they look in total shock as well.
Where did they go?
So she pulls out a foot that's completely seared and cut off cleanly at the point of contact, and the guy that fell in with him is cut in half. But it's so clean that it basically cauterizes the point of contact. So we know now that this thing isn't just some time traveling situation. It rips apart whatever goes in there. Kind of like a weird modified black hole, but not really. It's more like a molecular shredder. Okay, well, no one told you to pick it up, Broad. What did you think? If you picked it up, it was gonna magically transform into a banana? So then the stupidest thing happens. Everyone realizes they can't go outside. Nothing is getting in. People intelligently start rationing. There's no communication, no way to communicate with the outside world. While Captain Hook has gone, he leaves what I'm assuming is his ex-girlfriend, because she does not like this girl that's currently sleeping at his place. This girl has no idea what's going on, and our main character, feeling the vindictiveness of a woman that is scorned, tells this girl to go find out and stick her hand through there, knowing full well what it's going to do to her.
Eh? Bah mais ta main, tu verras.
But you one crazy ass bitch.
Bah mais ta main, tu verras. Non!
It takes her little brother telling, like, really? That you have no morality? You're that hateful because your boyfriend or whoever moved on? That you would willingly put somebody else in harm's way? She was gonna let her do it too. And what's even more insulting is Discount Fiona from Shameless over here was going to stick her hand through when it's clear you can read the body language of a woman that does not like you. Maybe it's because she's half drunk or something, but seriously, girl. When main character and her brother come upon an old woman in the dark, she seems kind of out of it. She's like, have you seen my cat? After the light comes back on, and it's discovered that she had stuck her hand through and is now missing a paw.
That's messed up.
And now apparently, here's the part of the movie that just gets my freaking kids. I mean, goats, whatever. This man is apparently the only non-racist white person in this entire movie. The first inkling that people have is to separate everyone by skin color. Apocalyptic event in which you are all in the same exact boat. And the first instinct that these dumbass characters have is, let's keep ourselves to our skin colors. That is the most unrealistic part of this entire thing. Not even the weird shadowy void outside that was made from Cthulhu's breath. The people separating themselves into ethnicity, and they're not even all the same ethnicity. Skin color. Just merely skin color. Which leaves our main character in one of those weird places because she's obviously biracial. The father here is the most racist person. This part's really sad because the sister is probably now realizing her mom is gone. The brother always tries to be strong and he says, don't cry. You don't have to worry. I'm here. And I'm like, oh Lord, something's gonna happen to him, isn't it?
Bitch, you guessed it!
And also because people can't get contraception, there's going to be a whole bunch of pregnant broads, which in my opinion is kind of weird because I get it, people have to keep surviving and stuff, but you got to find out what the situation is that you're dealing with at the very least until you die. You know what I'm saying? What is this thing? And how much air are we going to have? How much water? You really think we should be procreating at a time like this? And I understand, you know, people are probably going to try the pull-out method, you know, all tried and true right there. Doesn't really work for everyone though, doesn't it? People are not always successful with it. So now you have an extra thing to worry about. A woman who's going to be eating for 2 people, and then another little thing that's going to be crying and eating for everyone. How is the mother going to get enough food? You could probably eat rats. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things here. And I'm going to be delving into also how to beat the dark void thing in the lockdown tower movie because, oh, it gets wild. It's sad that the first thing people do is make weapons, and you have Africans and North Africans. It's like, dude, y'all from the same continent. Why are you fighting? The saddest part is when Doom, with the little brother, sees the cat, the one that the old lady was missing. We don't even know if she's still alive, but I assume she is because he says we have to get the cat for the old lady. He doesn't listen, but he is trying his hardest to go and catch the cat before it gets away too far. I mean, there's really nowhere else for it to go, so I don't know why he's chasing it so hard. And he is running down the stairs pell-mell.
Douma? Douma!
Instead of looking where he was going.
His fault, but that was just a really weird accident. And the first thing the guy with the spear says is he just ran into it, and I know he's in shock too, so it's not his fault. First of all, you shouldn't be carrying a spear up the stairs facing forward, probably a stupid thing to do. I wouldn't even do that because I would have the foresight that if people are coming down the stairs, I could poke someone's eye out. Maybe he's not thinking that, but seriously, you should have been thinking. Even now, in a non-post-apocalyptic era, I have had to walk with a broom up the stairs, and I turned it around the bristle facing forward. Even though it wouldn't stab anyone, I was aware that it's possible if anyone's coming down the stairs, it could poke their eye out or trip them. So I kept the bristles close by and not hanging out all the way in front of me. This accident didn't have to happen. That looks like it went through the heart, bro.
Why?
Oh boy, it's the only family she had left. That's so depressing. He was the sweetest thing ever, and she probably feels like she failed him. I mean, you know, that's what happens when people chase pussy, but...
Seriously? Seriously?
We find out the witch doctor guy is doing some voodoo. 2 months have passed by. People are breaking into old people's homes. Main character is thinking about offing herself. She's still going through depression, and this guy's trying to recruit our main character, saying that she's black when she's in fact biracial. She's probably part North African or Arabic or something, or she's part white. Regardless, North Africans are like, no, we're keeping her. She's one of us, her best friend, funny enough, which happens to be the girl who was the person she hated at first, sticks by her side. They tase this guy and they kick him out, and they're like, no, bro. You're not taking one of our beautiful women. People have to do some shady things to survive. The lesbian woman has to sleep with men to get a joint in marijuana for her girlfriend.
Damn.
I don't know if her girlfriend has a medical condition or not. People talk about revenge. And honestly, the whole movie is about the North Africans and the fact that those kids robbed the old white people, so now the white people want to retaliate. It's about women having to breed. This scene right here where the white group is walking up the stairs like freaking Vikings stalking, because they gave the North African guy time because they said, I know you took the dog from those old people and it was your kids from your floor that did this. You have an hour to give it back. And that guy was shitting in their face and saying, I don't have it, get out. It's like, you know what? The old man, the people that you robbed, the old man died. So we're gonna exact punishment, which is, you know, I mean, that shit worked back then. This guy is with his current girlfriend and ex-girlfriend, the biracial girl, and he has his little harem, and I'm like, oh, that's cute, they're sharing, how cute. In the middle of while he is doing all of this, guess who busts through their bedroom?
I should have listened to him.
Okay, real talk though. Them legs though. Like, okay. If you were a cannibal, that's some prime meat right there.
I know signs of cannibalism when I see it.
I mean, there are already people eating people in this too, because that's another ethical conundrum that happens. There's only so many dogs and cats you can breed. But like, never mind, whatever. I know there's stories of that happening, but I just feel like there's something instinctive that people would rather die than eat someone else. Like, it wouldn't even enter your mind to eat another person, but I've heard of people actually doing it to survive. And then don't take my word from it, but I heard from someone that a cannibal mentioned that humans taste like pork. Don't know if that's true or not. Why do humans taste like pork? I don't know. Everything tastes like chicken, but humans taste like pork. I don't like thinking about that. I don't like thinking about that. That is weird. Yeah, nope. Look at the look of absolute fear. He's telling them, help me, but at the same time, he's afraid, and these are his women, and they're gonna watch him die in the most humiliating way. Okay, this is not the most humiliating way. Look at the dude in the back, like, looking like one of those dudes out of Planet of the Apes. He's like, well, I did tell you, bro. I came by and I told you. I warned you what was going to happen and you didn't listen. That's the face this guy has. And it fits because he is the one that came there out of respect and told the North African guy, like, dude, you got to get back the dog. We know you have it. Your kids took it. You need to fix that. Those kids, they did something wrong and you're the person in charge of your people. So you need to handle that. And he didn't handle it. Instead, he has the dog lying down in the same room while he's screwing his women because it was a gift for the biracial girl. How did you figure you were going to keep that from people? So now you fucketh aroundeth and found outeth. Damn, and they put him feet first too. Jesus.
So sad.
So because the white people in this are racist, they don't really treat the biracial girl, even though she's like the exact same complexion of a lot of them, with much respect. She's able to walk around and stuff, but she's not allowed to breed, I'm guessing, what I'm gathering from this, because they make her take some pills while the other women are supposed to breed. This woman isn't allowed to breed either, or maybe, I don't know. It's very confusing. People barely have water, barely have food. The South or Central Africans are talking about revenge on the white dudes. The trouble's already brewing. They're holding church, and the witch doctor dude is telling them who can breed and who can't, and religion is keeping people in order for the most part. He's not even making any sense. He's literally saying 1 for 1, 1 for 100, 1 for 1,000, and that's the sermon, okay? What exactly are we supposed to learn from this? What's the meaning behind it? They never tell you. You just see a whole bunch of pregnant women walking up and throwing little marble stuff into the void as some kind of sacrifice. The racist white dude's son has kept the North African women all drugged up, and what frick is he doing? Why does his face look so freaking nasty? Funny how racism just goes out the window when it comes to puss, you know what I mean? So the racist dad is like, the guy has been doing voodoo on me. That's why my legs don't work. Meanwhile, the women are all planning something, but I have no idea why. Then there's a shootout. One of the women throws acid in one of the guy's faces. Maybe because he did something to her. We never find that out, or maybe it just went over my head. He starts shooting his gun wildly, and one of the girls is like, take my baby! And then there's another time jump to like 7 years. Electricity no longer works. You're not getting any water, but air is clearly coming into the building, or else these people all would have been dead. So whatever this void is, clearly it allows air particles in. It allows water in to some degree. But the water from the pipes, that's not coming in, even though it's weird, because the water from the pipes were coming in for the longest while. Only after 2 years did it stop. So either it turned off because no one's paying for it, or this is something that's happening all around the world. I don't know what happened with all the dogs and the cats, but people look really sick, like they have scurvy or something, and they're down to eating only cockroaches, barely staying alive. There's mold in the building, and then people are claiming that the void has gone up a few levels, which means that you could go all the way down to the lobby, but you could not go outside. And now, if you try to even go downstairs, the void has cut you off from there too. They mentioned that it came up suddenly. So you were just chilling, and then one day you just weren't. So now everyone is just waiting to die. And main character is telling the little boy about the lion. But I'm guessing the lion and little dog story pertains to her and her little brother. The little boy asks her, what does it feel like to die? And she answers, morbidly, hauntingly, nothing. It's very interesting how they shoot this next shot.
Ça fait rien.
Rien?
Non.
Which tells us that the void probably at this moment in time swallowed up their level 2. And I don't know what is going on with this movie, but clearly there's some alien experiment or something at play. And it had me thinking, okay, people didn't like this movie because of its ending. And some of the best horror movies for me are those that don't have a happy ending, because it leaves the horror element intact. It lets you know that if you were in a situation like this, there would be no way out. But what I find very unbelievable is how nobody put their minds together to try and find out what this thing is. Nobody was like, let's try to experiment what this thing could be. There's probably a very strong chance it would not have made a difference, but at the very least, you wouldn't even try as a human being to figure out how to beat this thing. You just accept your fate and not try. And what is on this guy's face? So the first thing I would do is try to understand the properties of this thing.
Maybe we could do a little experiment later. What do you think?
The anomaly seems to be some sort of dark matter energy, but not the kind of dark matter that we know, even though there's a lot unknown about it. But we do know a few things about the dark matter that we see in the movie. We know that light cannot permeate the dark matter energy, or the void as we call it. And things, organisms, and solid objects are completely torn apart when contact is made, as we've seen with these people. And it's instantaneous. These two guys that are fighting are there 1 minute and then not there the next. There's a sort of cloud, particles that completely envelop their bodies, and as they sink through the dark matter, whatever part of them is still outside is cut away from the rest of them. Light doesn't shine through it, but nobody ever tried in the movie to even experiment with that and shine a flashlight through it, which would have been my first thing to do. You see it's dark out there, you can't see anything, let's not shine a flashlight through it, because, you know, whatever. Let's not try to set it on fire. They don't do anything in this movie. These people are like perpetually stupid. They toss something through it and they're aware that it's not a normal matter or substance or particles, and you see there's a little bit of energy expenditure and displacement from when an object makes contact with the thing. Or maybe that's just its particles disintegrating when it makes contact with the dark matter. What's also clear is that the dark matter doesn't flow into the building. It seems to surround the entirety of the building. We know that people have been alive for like 7 years in here, so oxygen and carbon dioxide are not an issue with being able to pass through filtration. Still works with air. They're still able to get water from the outside. The first thing people would probably try to figure out, because it would take a while to experiment on what this is the reason it is put here. It could be a method of shielding and containment. The first thing everyone's probably thinking is aliens. Alien technology or intervention would be a possible cause of this, because why not? The dark matter could be a weapon against humanity, a form of containment, or probably a side effect of their technology. It could even be a time traveling or a spatial travel kind of situation, but no one ever knows because they just think you die when you go in there. And you may be wondering, well then why is it that when a part of them is left behind, that part just stays behind there? And that's because, well, for you to be teleported or transported, it has to basically Star Trek you and rip you apart to put you back together, and if you don't fully go through, then the rest of you just stays there, while the half of you that goes through ends up somewhere else, put back together as just half. All of you has to go through for it to complete. It could be a government experiment gone wrong, like Cloverfield. It could be a dimensional rift, a substance from another dimension that's seeped into our reality. It could even be something natural that we have not even discovered yet. It's science fiction, so gamma rays, black holes could cause some kind of rift. I mean, you can make up anything, but the other question I have is, it's not only stupid that nobody thought to do any experiments to at least find out what this was, for the hopes of trying to at least find out if they could travel through it, being that water was still being transported them through the building, but no one thought to dig down, because clearly if the pipes are underground and that's how they're getting the transference of water, because the water was still coming from the main, why did no one think to go down? Because the pipes are being run through the building from the outside underground and they have water in them, and we've seen that metal and other solid objects completely disintegrate within the void. So the pipe containing the water, so it's directional to go inside the building, is still intact for them to have had water for years. No one thought to dig down to see if they could travel underground to get to the outside. No, nobody. Even if this is an alien invention, and whether they're doing it to trap the humans for an experiment or whether they think they're protecting the humans for some planet-wide destruction, which clearly isn't the case because we see what happens at the end of the movie, it's clear that they only thought about surrounding the building as we know it. Hence, why the darkness doesn't go inside the building, it only stays outside the portal areas like the windows and the doors. So I thought it was pretty stupid. This must be one of the weirdest movies I watched in terms of something like this happening, and nobody trying their best to ascertain the properties of said substance, but yet the first order of business is to separate each other based on the color of their skin, which is like, I get it that people, when they have nothing to do or maybe in the most primitive situation situations, they would try to do that, but in a time where they're literally all in the same boat. I mean, look at Lost. That seems like the last thing I would imagine people doing. Like, look at people in real life situations like this. They don't consider skin color because you know what? They want survival. And since there's barely enough people in the building as it is, they're gonna need all hands on deck. Your skin color is gonna be the least of their matters. Sticking together is going to be the first order of business, and then digging underground to a place where you know, based on the provisions of the water lines, would be the next order of business. To at least see, at the very least, if you could get communication to the outside, or if the rest of the world looks like this. And if chances are you dig and there is nothing there, then maybe you can prolong your survival underground and manufacture some pipes, repurpose some piping to stick it up into the surface, since it's clear that air is one of those things that's fine, even though there's a bit of a contradiction because air is fine, solid objects and matter don't work except for when it's being filtered towards the living organisms inside. But then again, it might not work because if this was an experiment by some unknown force entity, those people running the experiment were aware of the organisms being in the building, and so they specifically left water and air intact so they can continue monitoring them. If the humans were to dig underground and go someplace else, and let's say the aliens or whoever the powers are that be don't know where they are, then there wouldn't be anything there to monitor the humans and make sure they get air and water. Since electricity isn't a thing and people need to keep warm but they can still make fire, I would say that people would also need to take into consideration how much they're screwing and how many babies they're having.
I'm pregnant.
Because that's just going to eat up all the food, and cats and dogs can only have so many litters even if you breed a bunch of them, and the more that you breed is the more you're going to have to feed them to keep them alive as well. So the best thing to do is to grow crops, but then it's not like they can get more soil. It's really one of those shitty circumstances where you can only survive for so long in that specific situation and just hope for the best until you can wait out whatever this is. Anyway, you can check out the movie on Shudder. Lockdown Tower, or Le Tower, however you pronounce it, was an interesting movie, and I appreciated that the ending was kind of dark and bleak. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You asked, we answer.